So, hello everybody. My name is Greg Cooper, manager of Employment Connections here at Fox Valley Technical College. Welcome to virtual JSN sessions here. Today we have the opportunity to talk with Trisha from Cadre. Talk to us about her experience recruiting, what it looks like recruiting, now with the new pandemic, some different tips and tricks for job seekers who are looking at getting into different fields. Just a few housekeeping tips before we start. If you would like, there will be time to ask questions at the end. However, if you would like to ask a question, you can always raise your hand, and at a strategic break, I will look at the questions and try to get your question in. Or you can type a question into the chat box, and we'll take those questions if there's any breaks in the conversation. And then lastly, if there is at the end, I will ask for any final questions, and then me or Trisha will go ahead and answer those questions for you all. So again, thank you for your time, and we'll take some time to allow you to introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Trisha Gratian. I've been with Cadre. It'll be 20 years on June 12th. I began, actually, kind of a fun story is I did come to Cadre because I was job searching. And at that time, I met with them. I interviewed. My manager that interviewed me said, hang on a second. Do you think you'd be interested in staffing? We got to talking, and actually, I had applied for a blind ad. I didn't even know it. At Cadre, the owner had my resume on her desk because I was applying to a blind ad in the paper for a personnel manager. So I not only applied to them without knowing it, I actually walked in the door for them to help me. And therefore, I mean, from that day on, I was a personnel manager, basically in that role for 14 years, hiring individuals, doing a full interview, coaching them on what their job search is needing. And then once they're into a job, keeping in connection how it's going, how they're liking it, any concerns they might have, and then also being that communicator for the company if there are concerns on the company's end or questions or just great feedback to give them. We're always in contact every couple of weeks with our employees. So then I ended up being very lucky to consolidate my schedule, and I became a recruiter for a couple of days a week. So I actually still do interviewing, going out to job fairs, meeting the schools, just working with workforce development, anywhere we can to pull in candidates. And then on 2 other days of the week, then I work with the client companies, which I'm a client manager. So I have about 20 to 30 accounts that I work with on a weekly basis, with companies that are job searching. So I might have a client company. My contacts are typically the HR people, but not always. And if it's a smaller company, it could be their office manager, could be their accounting person, whoever is really kind of heading up that hiring. So I have a personal connection with a lot of the companies out there and work with them on their needs. So I actually do work on both ends of our staffing world, I guess is the best kind of picture of it.
Wow, so you've really had kind of an extensive, career
Yeah,
there. So you've
all
been
over. They can stick me anywhere, which is kind of fun. I like having that.
yeah, yeah. So maybe just for people who don't know, can you give us kind of a brief overview of Cadre?
Yes, Cadre is a family-owned business. We've been around for 25 years, and our owner and her brother are the owners still, and have been since day one. We only staff for office clerical and professional positions, and we do staff between Appleton, Green Bay, and Oshkosh, and then a little bit of the surrounding areas. We also have an office in Madison, which is our newest office. Technically, it's in Middleton. So when people come to register with Cadre in the Fox Valley, Green Bay, Oshkosh, if they are looking to move to Madison, we can look in that region for them as well. So pretty broad for a family-owned business, actually. We see temporary positions that can be anything from a day, a few weeks. We have a lot of customer service needs right now, which are basically seasonal. Companies are trying to kind of get back into the new normal and really wanted to bring people in to kind of get trained so that when things are back to busy, they're fully trained and ready to roll. Temporary to hire positions are also the ones where, well, those, you start on Cadre's payroll as a temporary employee, but you will be hired onto that company's payroll as long as you're happy, they're happy after 480 hours, which, breaking that down, how long does that take you? About 3 months if you're working 40 hours a week. Goes by real fast. And that during that time, your personal manager at Cadre is making sure you're happy and everything's going good. We're in touch with that company to make sure you're performing as they wish. And then at that 400, there's no surprises. If it's not working out well, you're going to know. We're going to talk to you about things if there's concern. So it's not like you're going to hit one day shy of 480 hours and you're just going to be told you're gone. It just doesn't happen. People worry about that. What if they don't hire me on? You're going to know if it's not the right fit. I would say my employees tend, they either call me or the employer calls us within a few weeks if there's concerns at the most. Thankfully, I wouldn't be in this job anymore if that happened a lot, if there was a lot of bad endings. And so, yeah, that, and then direct hire, I don't see them a ton, but those are the ones where the company will come to us for the search to find that person, hire
Mhm.
them from day one, and they are company ABCs, good to go. So those are the directions we staff for.
Okay, okay. So I guess it's a lot of different, things, a lot of different, ways that you hire
Mhm.
employees. What would you say would be one of the greatest benefits for a person to look at utilizing a staffing agency?
There's a lot of benefits to it. It's amazing. I don't think people really realize it, but when you come to Cadre, you might have some questions or resume concerns, or what do you need? There might be cover letters that you're trying to do. And every time you're sending to a job on your own, you're rearranging everything. When you come to Cadre, we just want your resume. We don't need a cover letter. We need one resume, up to date, present. We will use that resume and create our own cover letter. When I'm talking to my clients, I actually create a summary about why I feel you're a good fit for that job. We have assessments that you do in our office, which you can
Mhm.
redo whenever you want to, and we keep your best scores. And then that package gets sent on to that HR contact. Now, when your resume is sent through Cadre to a position, you're not one of 40 resumes. You might be one of 5. So we really have to whittle down. So all of these people that are coming to register with Cadre, we learn from day one, what are they really matching? What are they really looking for? Same with the companies. We go out to meet with those clients and really learn their industry. So when that company comes and we have these 3 or 4 people that are really matching well, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get an interview.
Mhm.
That much faster to get a job versus you putting it out on the web and it's just kind of floating everywhere. We have that verbal conversation with that company to explain why we really feel you're the right fit. If there were hiccups in your career, there's gaps of employment. We explain all that. That cannot be explained when you're applying on a website. So, we really explain, bankruptcies happen. This happens, companies. You had to move out of town to take care of your family, and we explain these situations and it makes those gaps, or if there's a little hoppiness between jobs, easy to explain. And then we highlight all the good points at the very end in a nice little summary.
Mhm.
Also, we take time to learn what those companies are looking for. What are they looking for in an interview, in a resume? What skills are most important to them? So we can really get those selling features over to them. We're
Mhm.
also going to give you all the feedback. So when you go interview with the company, even if they were to pass on you, we're going to let you know, what did they say? Why did they pass on you? Why did they hire so and so instead? So that we can learn, and it's a coachable moment. We can just talk about it and then move on to that next job. Temporary jobs almost work as a learning experience too. You might not know what you like until you try it. Why not take that 1 week vacation coverage in a data entry role? See how it goes. You might find that that's an awesome company that you want to stick with, and they might really like you. And so goes on a vacation when they roll you into their role. Maybe there's an opening in that department and they can hire you on. A lot of times our clients will call us and say, I know we just wanted her for a few months, but can we keep her? So that does happen a lot more than people realize. It just takes a little bit of open-mindedness and a little bit of patience.
Oh. So you said like you guys are effectively, helping to sell the candidates over to the clients.
Yes, yes. And we will not send your resume unless we fully believe it, because we're on the line. So you kind of have, when you come to register with Cadre and your job searching, you have your personnel manager who is your contact, calling you on jobs, calling you on interviews, scheduling those for you, letting you know exactly where to go, when, who to ask for, what door to go in. Me on the client end on those days, we're then rooting for that employee, saying, hey, how did the interview go, Sue? What do you think? When are you going to have an answer? So not only are we rooting for you, we're also pushing to get an answer from that client, because you might have other interviews going on in your own. That's another good point. You're not tied to Cadre. You keep searching everywhere else you need to. And if you find a job, just let us know. If we call you on a job and it's not the right fit or something you're not so sure about, just pass on it. We would rather call you and ask you about that job, than us not call you and ask you about it and you would have really wanted to try it out. So we're really trying to open doors and match experience all at the same time.
Mhm. And so does just to follow up to that, so if a person is working with you, do they get to work with one person throughout the whole process, or are they bounced around?
They, in the beginning, when you call in your very initial step, you're going to talk to a coordinator who then gathers some minimal information, enough for us to know if we're the right service to help you out, because we're not going to waste your time. You do need to have a little bit of customer service, office, something in your background or education that we can use to kind of start building from. So in the beginning, you might have to leave a message, you might have to get called back. But once you are into our interview schedule and you talk to an interviewer, the interviewer then gets a lot more detailed information about your work history and your goals and your search. That then is passed off to a personnel manager. So there's a little bit of hopping in the beginning, but once you are registered and with us with a personnel manager,
Mhm.
that's your person for as many months or years or whatever you need them. And let's say you find a job and 6 months later you do come back to Cadre and say, oh, you know what, it didn't work, I'm looking again. You can go right back to that same personnel manager, unless they've left the company. But honestly, the team that I work with, my personnel manager team, I've been with them for like, one of them's 20 years, another one's been 10 years, another one's been 8. So 9 times out of 10, it's the same personnel manager you can work with. They just kind of revisit your search. They know you are ready, and then just start looking again.
Ah, wow. So
Mhm.
I think that brings up another great question. Is that we have a lot of students or people who contact us regarding different HR opportunities and looking to get
Mhm.
into recruiting. And for you to say that your team has been there for 10 plus years, I mean that's
Mhm.
great. Can you kind of explain to us what is your internal culture like?
Our internal culture is very fun. We work hard, but we play hard. I think that the now people just wanting to break into the staffing world, that entry level position within Cadre internally is kind of, we call it a personnel coordinator. It's a lot of on the phone, general phone screenings, following up on resumes online. Oh, sorry about sorry about that. And so it's just a lot of, it's not even, you're not cold calling. I mean, you're calling people that are applying online somewhere. You see their resume. Hey, they might match this accounting job that Cadre has, or HR, or sales, or whatever it might be. So internally, then my goodness, I'm getting stalked. There we go. So internally, then our team is sitting in a low cubicle setting. We can see each other. It's in Appleton, I'm talking, it's our biggest office. We do have Oshkosh, Green Bay, and those are a little bit smaller offices. But even so, we can see each other. We can wave each other down. We can email, talk, call. I think it's because we have this very close culture. We're all kind of type A, all outgoing. We thrive on helping people out. And I think and that's, my husband even says, how do you keep people there so long? I think we're just family, and I think we all are very welcoming. We all want to give each other assistance and help when we can give it, and we get help back. So we've been lucky. Our team's just fun, and we just really respect each other. Yeah.
And that sounds like, I mean, it's a great culture. Now, you talked a little bit about how, the interview process that goes, and I think this is unique because you guys have kind of two interview process. Can you
Yes.
talk to us about what the internal interview process is like if a person was trying to get into staffing, and then you
Mhm.
kind of walk us through what it would be like for maybe somebody that's utilizing your services when they go through interviews?
Okay. Yeah. So we've had people come into our door, and I think this is kind of what you mean, is they may be willing and interested in getting into our company
Yep.
internally, but they also want to search other places too.
Yep.
So what we do is when people come in to register with us and they are looking to get into staffing, we basically are considering them for any internal openings if we have any. We always do that. That's where we find our that's where we find our team, is people coming to register with Cadre for job searching, like I did when I came. But let's say there isn't any openings, and we're sending them off to other companies to interview for HR roles. We are simply calling them on every possible position that matches. If that company is interested in their resume, the personnel manager would call the employee and say, hey, ABC company wants to see you for an interview. We then send them to meet with their team to interview. So you are interviewing with Cadre initially to get registered, and then to learn just about us, and we learn about you, and then we're sending you out to interview with those companies. Temporary jobs might even still have a quick phone interview. Years ago, we had temporary jobs come through, they didn't interview at all. They would just say, send us someone Monday, good to go. We'll just trust you to send somebody. But a lot of times now, you're going to probably at least do a phone interview, then a face-to-face before you get hired. With COVID, it's been a lot more virtual. Phone interview, virtual interview, and then even hiring and onboarding has been virtual for a lot of our clients. We've had employees get hired completely virtually, stop in to get their computer and equipment to start the job at home, right back home, and then they start their training. So there's been a lot of companies that have great technology that are able to just start people at home until they're ready and safe to bring them on site.
Nice, nice. So I think it's great to hear that you guys have had some exposure to some the different virtual jobs, or companies are being open to. So, for people who have families and things like that who want to work, there are some different opportunities for jobs that
Yep.
will allow you to train and start virtually.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess, what does it look like? What are you looking for? So I know it changes a little bit within jobs, or what jobs you're looking for, but what
hmm
would you typically say you're looking for, for a good quality resume?
Good quality resume. Very simplified. We don't want big paragraphs. We want bulleted job duties, most
Mhm,
recent job on top.
mhm,
Education, if the education is really focusing on your career search right now, we want that on top. If maybe
mhm,
you graduated with a psychology degree and now you're just looking for something different, put that on the bottom. Don't discount it. We want it on there. And then there's a lot of clients that just want the degree. They really don't care what it is, so there's a lot of that. But each position, we want to see, where did you work, when, what was your job title, bulleted job duties, most I guess pertinent on top, and then down to the more simpler tasks. If it's an office position, you don't need to worry about putting in scanning and filing or anything, real simple, unless that was your job. There are some corporate
mhm,
companies that will physically have you literally doing scanning of tons of documents into systems. Then those are your duties. So I would say 5, 6, maybe 8 bullet points are
mhm.
typical under each position. If it goes into 2 pages, that's fine. A lot of people are very worried to have a resume go into more than 1 page.
Yep.
um, I am not worried about it. We never worry about that. Gets into 3, it might be a little heavy, but 2 pages, 1.5 is pretty typical.
Mhm,
You do not need a cover letter for us, because we are your cover letter. We create that each time we send a candidate over. And we look for consistency. We look for spelling. We look for easy to read font, but not too big. We don't want pictures on it. We try to stay away from fancy graphics. Just your words, contact information on top if you care to share it. You don't have to. A lot of people will just have their name on there, maybe the city they live in, so they're not giving away personal information.
mhm.
Not necessary. And skills, any sort of computer skills you have, we definitely want to see those on there, what you're proficient with. You don't have to be a master, just proficiency would be great. And you can list Microsoft, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. If you've used any sort of ERP system, you've used JD Edwards, you've used something specific, put it on there, because you never know what company might really love to see that experience.
Mhm. Uh-huh. Awesome. Awesome. So I guess, other than the resume, what type of advice would you give to a prospective job seeker looking for a job right now, during this, during the pandemic time? What are some tips that you have?
Boy, during the pandemic time, it is really tricky. What I've been finding is this: be very vigilant when a company needs information back. We are experiencing this quite often with our candidates. We will talk with them on the phone, set an appointment for them to do a virtual interview with actually, it's more phone interview with Cadre. Um, we will call them right on the dot, 10 o'clock. Please answer. We've had a lot of people just not be ready or forgot about it. Whatever you need to do is set a reminder, because it really sets that tone that, gosh, you really weren't prepared right off the bat. We can get over that. But I've had plenty of clients do the same thing and say they didn't answer. They knew this 3 days in advance. I don't know why. And then they kind of dismiss that applicant. So being vigilant on when you're supposed to be speaking with that person. Have your resume, have water by you so you're not getting a tickle in your throat when you're doing that phone interview. I think, especially in these virtual situations, be professionally dressed, even though you're just half up on the camera. And also, you're going to need to display a little bit more energy, maybe. If it's a phone interview, phone interviews are really tricky. And you might think that you sound interested in the job, but you kind of got to push it a little bit, because we've had a lot of our client companies say, yeah, you know, you just didn't sound really that interested on the phone. And we need to have questions, have research the company, have some questions prepared so you can have that conversation going back and forth. You know, why would you want to work there? What do you want to know about them before you take that position? I think you just need to really be your best promoter. And be prepared for typical interview questions. Think of examples on, not everybody, you know, everybody makes mistakes. Where do you make mistakes? How do you correct yourself? Where are your weaknesses? You're not, you know, you're going to have weaknesses. I always have weaknesses to list down in my reviews. So we all have that to work on. So make sure you're honest. If there are tough reasons for leaving, you were let go from a position, just explain it real simple. What would you have done differently in the future? Move on. I find a lot of people start to kind of try to give more excuses and explanation, and then they start getting into other stories, and it gets to be a little bit too much. You just want to give that, this is what happened, it shouldn't have, or yes, I did. This is what I learned in my next job. And now I've had, worked 3 years in my last position. It's went great. So you kind of have to really think of the hiccups that might come across, and how are you going to come back with that. Hopefully that helps, if that's.
Yeah, no, and I think it's awesome too that you guys, I mean, if a person does interview with you, you kind of give them that rundown or those tips before they will walk into an interview with another client. I think that's a very tough part of the job search, that we talk to a lot of students and job seekers that, they just don't have any feedback, or they send a resume over and they just don't
hear nothing.
And I think one of the benefits that people don't see is that, like you said, that once they interview with you, if they're a great candidate and they have, some of the different, background that you're looking for, you can kind of help mold them to get ready for that specific client or company that they're working for.
Exactly. We know those clients a lot of times, and even if we don't, we have good tips. We will do, and a lot of our personnel managers will, if they feel one of their applicants is having some interviewing struggles, we'll do a mock interview on the phone, and just pretend we're doing an interview with them. Kind of put them on the spot. How are you going to answer these questions? So we'll guide, we'll coach, we'll let you know what we know up front of what that company is really focusing on. We've also had people interview at a company. It didn't work out well. Well, okay, now we know. We'll pass that information on to you then. Hey, this last person did this in the interview or wasn't looking for this. Please know this is a big part of the job, so that they're well aware and it is the right fit. Because if I'm setting someone up to interview the client and they start having some second thoughts, we want to know that beforehand. Let's talk about it. Maybe we need to cancel the interview. It doesn't happen a lot, but we've had people call us and say, I thought about it. The outbound calls on this position are not me. I think I better pass. Or we just talk with the client and say, hey, do you guys still want to discuss? And sometimes that client say, you know what, that's a super minimal part of the job. Let's still talk to them. So we want that open communication, not only with our employees, but we do keep that with our clients too, so that they're aware of what we're running into.
Nice. Well, thank you for providing all of this great information to us. We'll take the last 6 minutes or here or so to allow open up for any questions, if there are any, from any of the participants here. You can type your message into the chat. You can raise your hand and we can call on you, or you can simply turn on your camera and your microphone and ask the question. So give it a couple seconds here to see if anyone has any follow-up questions.
Greg, it's Lynn. One thing, Tricia, just listening to you, and I'm sorry, I have a little one here, so we might have some squiggles in here, some squeals. One thing I noticed, and I tell students when they are on the phone doing interviews, smile, because that changes your whole demeanor, even stand up. Because like me going back and forth, or, when you're not smiling, but that your whole tone, when you start smiling on that phone call, your whole tone and everything changes. So that's one thing I like to encourage people to do when they're doing those phone interviews, is stand up, smile. And like you said, even if you're not on video, dress the part, put yourself in professional clothes and try to get yourself into that face-to-face, and makes a world of difference.
That's a good point. Definitely does. And that's one thing that our trainer talks about at Cadre too internally is smile when you're on the phone. That comes right through. You can tell, and pretend they're right in front of you, even if you're on the phone. Walk around, walking around and moving. Well, yeah, walking around and moving helps.
Yep. Yeah, and just another thing is that doesn't look like we have any questions, but what that I always feel is value is that it's during your job search, why not have someone advocating or searching for you? Like you said before, your job search does not stop just because you have applied or are looking at staff, and that's just another person giving you a resource that you can say no to. You said in an interview, if someone comes to you with a job or you bring a job to someone, they can say no. It's completely okay. And if they are working a position or whatnot, and they fulfill their temporary time, they don't have to continue doing that type of work. They can find a job of their own or whatnot. But I think that at least during this time with jobs, maybe not pulling the trigger and hiring, internally right away, this might be a great opportunity to just kind of diversify your job search a little bit. So I really value the value of at least utilizing it just to have another resource.
Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up. I forgot to mention a quick comment question people usually have for me is, what does this cost? If I get hired, what does Cadre charge? Nothing. We are completely free. We are a tool for you to use alongside your search. You are not paying Cadre anything to help you with your job search. So why not come to us? It's only going to cost your time to talk with us and pop into our office, and a little bit of paperwork. Well, it's a little bit these days, but that's really all it is. And you don't have to say yes. You can say no. You could take a temporary job, and then when that wraps up, move on to something on your own, or say, hey, I'm just gonna take some time off. I'm not going to be searching right now. We do have some people that are retired and just want to work during the winter, and in the summer they or vice versa, they'll actually work in the summer and then move away to Florida in the winter. So we have people do that too.
Yep. So we got one question in the chat from Gemma. What are tips for those needed to change career fields? I'm guessing it looked like here she was laid off, and her field is rare around the area, so she's looking for her skills to apply elsewhere.
Oh yeah, that's a tricky thing to do. So let's say we have someone come into our door, and I'm going to say that they've done sales all their life, and now they are looking to completely get out of sales and get into accounting. I don't know, something completely different. What we want you to do is you could put your experience on your resume, but you don't necessarily have to put too much heavy detail into it. You could put on the top, your skills. Let's start out with skills. So your contact information, all the great skills that you have underneath it. You did this for so many years, a few details about that job, and that's it. Then what we do, I think that's why we thrive a lot, is we really can help people making career changes, because that takes explanation. So then, Susie comes into our office and she's looking for a change in careers. We can call our client and say, hey, first glance, her resume is not what you are probably thinking you're trying to find, but this is why she's looking for a change. And this is why we feel she'd be great at that job. At least get an interview going. Or when people want to switch careers, I highly advise doing temporary work, because that company isn't expecting you to stay there for years to come. They just want you to come in to do a project for a few weeks. Put that project on your resume. Now you've changed your career path already. So it's baby steps. It's a little bit of patience once again. But I think, if you're willing to kind of take things outside of the box and start building up a new career path on your resume just a little bit, that'll help you get in the right direction.
Yep. And also too, I always tell people, look for the transferable skill sets. Every job that you have, different skill sets that can be transferred. It's like she says, international education. You're constantly working with people, following up with bosses, supervisors, developing, lesson plans or whatnot. All of those things can be transitioned into other career fields, and it's just really looking for those and really highlighting those on your resume. So Thank you
Yes.
for taking the time to be here with us today. A lot of the information that you gave us was very, very valuable, and I feel like a lot of people can take this information and really, and utilize some of the different services, or have another aspect to think about when they're, getting ready to apply or looking for different positions.
Wonderful.
We are doing these virtual JSN sessions every Monday here. Please feel free to join us again. And if you are watching this through video, please feel free to email your questions into our Employment Connections email address, and we can get those addressed, or you can go online and sign up for our virtual employment advising sessions, where we can go through things like resume, cover letters, just job search tips, and maybe get you in contact with individuals who can help you with the job search. So thank you guys, and I will post a link here or share my screen with you so you can see the next upcoming sessions for our virtual JSN, for our virtual Job Seekers Network. Thank you. You can end the recording,
All right.
Aaliyah.
Thank you.